Hello and welcome to The Actor and the Engineer. My name is Paul James. I am the actor.
And my name is Josh Knapp. I'm the broadcast engineer.
Here we go, Josh.
All right, it's Mission Impossible. I was so excited for this movie. I was super jazzed, and I stayed away from everything. I tried to stay away from trailers and all that stuff. And so I didn't even really know about, I knew a little bit about the big stunt. It was hard to not know about the big stunt, much like it was hard to know about the big stunt for Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. But that is the part that I was kind of expecting the most, and didn't really know what to expect going into it. But what we got, I wasn't as excited about. So how about you?
A movie as a
whole? The movie in general, it was kind of like putting it up next to Dead Reckoning.
It's the same movie.
But it's tough though, because we rewatched Dead Reckoning a couple nights ago, and Dead Reckoning actually does a better job, like a way better job in my opinion. But I felt explained to, I felt pandered to in this movie, whereas I didn't feel that in the last one. A lot of Mission Impossible movies are kind of like, here's what you do, here's how we get through this, and then of course something goes wrong and they have to deal with it and all that stuff. But there were different parts of Dead Reckoning where it's like, oh, you didn't expect that, did you? Oh, hey, what about this character? Didn't think that was going to happen to that character. Okay. So it felt like it kept me on my toes, whereas this movie, I never felt like anybody was in peril. Even though ostensibly the whole movie was about the world coming to an end due to nuclear apocalypse, but maybe it was too big that it couldn't get down to like the how is this affecting individual characters type of a thing, I guess. I don't know. It seems like Mission Impossible movies in general in the past have done a pretty good job of like showing us how important it is to Ethan Hunt and the people around him. And in this movie, it very quickly separates him from all of the people that he cares about. And he does his own quest and they do their own quest, and never the twain shall meet. And so that was a little rough for me. So what about you?
Well, I was thinking about it, and my brother saw it a couple weeks ago or 2 weeks ago or something. He said, what did you think? I said, I think I'm going to say this on the podcast. When you go to an amusement park and you go on a roller coaster ride and you get off and you're like, that loop is not the same as that curve of that film. But man, it's a roller coaster ride. It's fun. Some roller coasters are more thrilling than others. Some are scarier. Some are kind of boring. Some go upside down. Some go through tunnels. But they're all kind of fun. And it's, it's an experience. It gets your blood rate up. It gets you engaged in, when you're outside, of course, nature, obviously, and the wind and everything. So I feel like saying anything that could be a complaint about this movie is like complaining about a roller coaster. We know what we're getting. It's fun. It's exciting. It was, 2 hours and 45 minutes, and I loved all the set pieces. I loved all of the action sequences. I thought, there is something not moving correctly throughout this film. And I think it's the opposite of what you just said. I think the interpersonal connections that you're talking about were overdrawn. I think, why do we need to know the president's son situation? Why do we need to know the submarine guys? I mean, that's a whole sequence of them blowing up and how they blah, 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 blah. And then they repeat it later on. And so maybe it's just a bit too much. But in the end,
just like, what do you want? What do you want from this?
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, what do you expect? Which sounds almost defensive, but I just don't know. I actually think this is the reason to go back to movies. This is the reason to see things in IMAX. And I was sitting there, wow, we've talked about this before. How do you solve the cell phone issue? How do you solve the rude people who are talking or texting or whatever? And I think it should become a social construct that's our time to turn off, that we go to the movies and for 2 hours and 45 minutes, we challenge ourselves not to pick up our phone, not to look at our text, because everything in moderation is a good thing. Anything in excess is a bad thing. It's not that cell phones are bad. It's not that people are on them all day long. There's no regulation to it. They don't pull themselves off. You can't exercise every day for 5 hours every day, and that's not good for your body. You just can't. You have to have a day off. You have to have a cheat day. You have to have certain moments where you stop and do something completely opposite than what you're doing. And I think that's healthy. And when you do, and you don't worry about your phone, which I looked over at my phone a couple times and I was like, why? Like, there's nothing in this 2 hour and 45 minutes. If there's, God forbid, an emergency, I'll find out about it at 6 o'clock when the movie's out. I'll find out about my whatever at 6 o'clock. It'll be okay to not. And I actually enjoyed the experience because I was testing myself to stay engaged. And the movie kept me engaged. It kept me moving. It's flawed. It's got a lot of issues. I think it's the same movie as the first movie. And as for explaining things, they do a little too much explaining things over
and they replay things multiple times.
But you know what? Hold on. Side note, so did Top Gun Maverick. And how many times they tell you how they're going to fly that mission? And then right before it, they tell you again. And during it, they tell you again. And then a few things are different because obviously the stakes have to be higher when they're actually in it. But it's the same. You see the same models. You see the same picture over and over at least 4 times. At least. Were you ever bored of that? No.
No, I wasn't. But it seemed to me that was a little bit more complex than what is going on here. And the big things that they were replaying were things that happened in other movies.
Yeah.
And
Mistake.
It was kind of like, why are we seeing? And there's a lot of stuff that happened in the last movie that they had to replay, or they felt like they had to replay it. I didn't think that they had to replay. It's kind of like I'm sure they tested this movie and maybe they got comments that said, I didn't know what the heck was going on during X, Y, and Z. And so they're like, oh, we'll just put in a cutscene from the last movie to explain all that. But it's at some point, you're just kind of like, why am I watching 10 minutes of the previous movie in this movie? It doesn't
all of the
track
other
for me.
movies.
Yeah, a lot of the other movies.
All of the other movies.
That's a whole other thing. I hate to start with negatives. We can get into some other things.
You didn't like it as much as you thought you were. That's fine.
And I think that's I'm kind of holding it against the movie. And I also immediately watched Dead Reckoning, and I liked that so much more. The one from a couple of years ago. So so I'm just kind of, and also the fact that this may be, quote unquote, the final reckoning, the last Mission Impossible movie. I hope it's not. That I hope that there's something else, but because this would be a rough way for, in my opinion, a rough way for the Ethan Hunt character to go off into the sunset or whatever. I don't know. It just seems weird. Yeah, I'm not saying I wish for Tom Cruise to beat his body up a bunch more and all that stuff, but it's just kind of and it's amazing the guy's over 60 years old and he's doing this stuff. So that's just
in his underwear.
Amazing. It's crazy that he puts himself through all that, but maybe that's also, I'm kind of holding it against this movie for this being the last one. And I've drawn a couple of comparisons from in this franchise and the James Bond franchise, especially in the Daniel Craig run of the James Bond franchise, because this movie does some things that Spectre did, the movie Spectre did, where it's let's tie a bunch of things together and it all fits together nicely, and all of these things are related. You thought they were just random stories, but they actually are all related through some sinister plot. And it's guys, that's, first of all, nobody knew any of that stuff when they were writing those movies, and it's just, that's the part to me where it's just oh, look how perfectly all this stuff fits together. And it's life doesn't work that way. And I know it's a movie, but it's why did it have to do that? Rise of Skywalker did a similar thing, where it's kind of oh, look, all this stuff's related somehow. And it's well, but it wasn't until you just wrote something down and said, now it is. So
the issue is not that it's all related. It was much more interesting when it wasn't all related. It was much more interesting when she just had the Force because she just had the Force. Not that Rey is a relative or granddaughter of, Palpatine, the worst person in the universe. Didn't need it. You didn't need that explanation. You didn't need anything. I agree with you. I understand exactly what you're saying. That said, I'm going to contradict you. It was kind of neat that the guy who was in
Don Lowe,
is he the guy with the knife?
Yes.
In the first one, that's kind of neat. John Voight's son, that's kind of neat. Yeah, I know. When they revealed it, I was like, Josh is going to hate this.
Hey, he has a name. Oh, now he's got a different name. Well, that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. I looked it up. I was like, I wasn't sure how you're going to feel about the movie. Cause this is your world. And I have a couple of questions about that, but for whatever reason, I don't know. We've talked about this a couple of times throughout our history as a podcast with Mission Impossible films. I have a really good time and then I walk out the theater and I don't really remember them. Not really. I mean, and I was shocked how much I did remember about this film. Now I only saw it a couple days ago. Wait, 2 days ago.
Yesterday.
Yesterday. So yesterday, yeah. So yeah, it's still with me. So that might not be the greatest thing, but I also remembered quite a bit when I saw the flashbacks or whatever you want to call them that they put into the film. The thing is that they were trying to generate an emotional reaction to the past films instead of incorporating them into this film for purpose. They were trying to get you to remember, oh, that's this, oh, this is that. And they showed the Emilio Estevez scene twice, which is just grotesque, first of all. And second of all, it was already hard enough to watch it in the first film. Why are we seeing it again twice in this film? We get it. You're not take care of your people. You're selfish. We got that 4 films ago. But honestly, it's been a minute since I could say I would watch another Mission Impossible film again. Now I would watch them. I was actually thinking after the film to watch them in sequence like the Marvel saga that I'm almost finished with. Still haven't finished it, but I will finish it. Other things have distracted me. But I thought, wouldn't it be neat to see? Because when you watch that saga, the Marvel saga, you see where things are interconnected and they're written to be interconnected, and small little things that you think are throwaways in the movie that you're watching right in front of you actually pertain to things later on. And they're set up purposely in film 2 and 3 to come back in 6 and 7. And it's not like they were like, oh, that's right. We had this. Let's put this in now. They knew from almost probably the 3rd or 4th film that they were all reaching towards Endgame. They knew it. And you can sense it. And that's a really neat thing. So I'm wondering if there's a way that there's a connective tissue.
Yeah, I don't think so. But because number one, the first 2 movies, the Brian De Palma and the John Woo movies were completely separate things. And Tom Cruise wasn't I don't know if he was a full producer on the first one, and I think he might have been on the second one. He was definitely, like, his production company made the third one, the J.J. Abrams one. And so when they went forward from there on, I think that, yes, you might have had a more codified grouping of what these movies do. But I think that as Christopher McQuarrie started getting involved, you could see a more centralized vision as far as like what the movies look like and the different things that they focus on in those movies. I think that there are certain movies in this franchise that are infinitely rewatchable. I think Fallout, I could watch that any day, anytime. I think Mission Impossible 3 is actually one of my favorites because it does a little bit different things. It starts off with Ethan Hunt married, where it's like, whoa, that's not going to go well. And so, you have to deal with that. I think I did recently rewatch Rogue Nation. I haven't rewatched Ghost Protocol in a long time, but Rogue Nation's not bad actually. But the big ones for me are actually Dead Reckoning's really good. I like Dead Reckoning. Dead Reckoning, Fallout, Mission Impossible 3. I really like those. And I know, some people really do enjoy Rogue Nation as well. Rogue Nation's good. I felt like each of those movies I've just said have so many different set pieces, and I feel like we're kind of like going from set piece to set piece to set piece. And like we talked about for our last episode for Thunderbolt, I didn't feel like I was forced into each of those set pieces. They just kind of happened and rolled and one into the next. Whereas with this movie, it felt like it's like, we got 2 set pieces, guys. Like, what are we going to do in between? Well, I don't know. Let's go see Hannah Waddingham. Why do we have to go to an aircraft carrier so that we can go to a submarine so that we can go into a suit to go down to another? It just seemed like that it was business. It was like, don't they talk about that in acting where you have like business, you have to like make yourself a drink, or you have to, twirl a pen.
Yeah, I believe in that. I believe acting is always perpetual motion. And in order to do that, no one ever hardly ever anybody just sits around and looks at each other and talks. They smoke, they drink, they play backgammon, they play chess, they play checkers. There's always something going on. And in my opinion, it makes it more interesting to see somebody doing something instead of two people. I mean, Gin Game is a really famous, I don't know if it's infamous, play of two-hander play, and with elderly people. And it literally is them at a card table the whole entire time, but they are actively doing stuff the whole entire time with playing, gin and throwing and, that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think what you're talking about is a little bit different. I think always perpetually doing something in action to promote the narrative or to push the narrative can be uninteresting, is what I think you're talking about. I think
it just felt like there's got to be connective tissue.
Yeah.
And the connective tissue should be as transparent as possible. I think John Wick does a really good job at this, where you've like, hey, now we're going to this building. Hey, now we're doing this. Hey, now it's these two characters. That's all it is. But how you get from point A to point B, like, you either shouldn't spend a bunch of time on that, or you should do that in a way that the audience doesn't even recognize that's what you're doing. So that was the part I felt like there was way more of that and way less of the actual set pieces. The submarine, we haven't talked about the submarine exploration scene when he goes down to the Sebastopol, which is an amazing feat of physical engineering and production. I have to give it that. I was bowled over by the fact that they were able to shoot that and nobody got hurt. Like, that is amazing, because it's not like there's, CG bombs flying out past Tom Cruise's head. Those are real big, huge pieces of metal. Like, that's the thing. So the fact that happened is amazing. But I don't know, halfway through that sequence, I got like amaze fatigue. I've been amazed for 10 minutes and now I'm tired of being amazed.
Well, I need a t-shirt with that on it, first of all. So let me ask you this. Dead Reckoning is the one with the train, right?
Yes.
Going over the cliff. So what do you think? Because when they showed that, here's the thing that's not, it's not really smart what they did with the flashbacks, because when you see that train sequence, you remember how you felt and you're like, oh, zippy. Oh. Then you get to the sub or whatever. Yeah. And it's you're right. It lasts a little too long. So let me ask you this. What do you think, for you, what's the difference between the train sequence, which is out of control, first of all, and the sub sequence? Now, there's two people in the train sequence, so that might have a little bit to do with the stakes being a little bit higher, but being underwater and all of a sudden this shift, and then, dude, it was frightening to me.
To me, the train sequence wasn't one sequence. It was 4 separate scenes. It was, so simultaneously you have him driving up to the top of a mountain and not knowing he's going to have to jump off. And at the same time, you've got the Haley Atwell character having to punch out Vanessa Kirby and having to like put on a mask and having to like, deal with all that and play herself off as Vanessa Kirby. And you've got the interactions between, Kittredge and the, John Voight's son now. And you've got, and so then once Tom Cruise makes it onto the train, there's a fight on top of the train. That's a whole nother scene. The fight on top of the train. Yeah. That's before the train the locomotive even goes off the bridge.
Yeah.
So, and then after that, you've got him and Haley Atwell jumping from car to car to car to not die, and pianos are falling on them and hot grease is catching on fire. Like, it's crazy. It's amazing. Yeah. It's so cool. And then, the Palm Clemente comes in and saves them, even though she's stabbed in the chest. So and then he jumps off the train and floats out on his parachute. So, I mean, like that whole sequence, spoilers for Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, but that whole sequence is really cool, or multiple sequences is really cool. Whereas this one, it just, I mean, we haven't gotten into like official spoilers yet. It's like,
yeah, but
there's a biplane sequence.
Yeah. Which we see in the trailer and we see in the, now everybody
which
talks
is so
about.
cool. It's great. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't have anything bad to say about it.
Hold that thought though. So let's go back to, you had said he was separated from the team in this, which he's separated from the team in the train sequence, and all four things
yes. Yeah.
Right. But until he meets up with, I always want to say Peggy Carter, because now I just watched all those movies.
Yeah,
and I can't
Agent
think of her.
Carter. Yeah,
I can't think of her.
Haley Atwell.
Yeah,
I don't know what her name is in the show, in the movie.
Peggy Carter. Oh, in the movie.
Well, in the
Grace.
movie, yeah,
It's
Grace. There you go.
Okay, so other than meeting up with Grace and having to deal with all that, all four of those things that are happening during that sequence are separate. So that's the same as what's happening at the end of this movie when he's doing the final mission.
No, because he interacts with them multiple times. He interacts with her. He jumps into his.
Oh, that's
he
right.
Jumps
He's
into
kind of
the train,
off the,
and then they kind of go fight, and then he goes up, and she. I mean, they're all kind of like moving.
And they know
in
where
and
he's
out.
at. In this, they don't know where he's at.
Yeah, and they're just like, I hope everything goes well.
Well, you know that. Okay, so at the beginning of the podcast, I said it was a good roller coaster ride, and I still stick to that, and I still will probably watch it, and I probably will watch them all in sequence. Maybe I'll have a different understanding of them and a different appreciation. Not that I don't already have an appreciation. They are quintessential popcorn movies, and I love that. I love the escapism of things like that. I love the idea that they have had this going on for, how many is it now? 9? How many is it? 8, including the last 2? That makes 8? Okay. Okay, good guess. 9. I'm glad that they keep trying to up the antes, and I'm glad that he is 61 years old. And by the way, when he takes off his shirt to fight, I was like, dude, seriously, nothing jiggles. What's up? And then he's down to his underwear, and I was like, what? Wait,
do you think that was him as a producer being like, guys, you know, I'm working hard on this body. People have to see it. Like,
dude, if I look like him and I'm almost 61, I probably would never wear clothes. Period. I would probably have to find a job at home where they could film me from here up, because if I looked and you know, he probably feels amazing. I'm sure it's tough on his body that he's older, but I'm sure it's tough no matter what age you are to do what he has done. I'm sure there are people younger than him going, really? Nope, not going to work with Tom, not working out with Tom Cruise today. It doesn't matter what the reasoning is for it. He looks that way. He is solid, and he shows us what we can do when we're aging. And dude, nothing jiggles. And I was looking. And then when he's underwater, you know, when you go into water, no matter how muscular or how heavy you are, overweight you are, the water makes your body ripple in a way, no matter how great shape. Nothing. No movement at all. And I was like, is it CGI'd, Tom? Are you what? There's no leg flopping thing between your thighs. You're 61. Where is it? Like, this is odd. So good for him. He looks amazing. And it doesn't matter to me that I'm working hard. I want to show myself in my underwear. He did in that sequence. That fight is super intricate. I mean, Viggo Mortensen did it naked. So once that was done,
Eastern
you know,
Promises,
once that's done, and he was naked,
Yeah.
and there is like, they didn't hide nothing in that sequence. So good for him. But the bottom line comes down to, for me, how much of the at the nick of time and the luck of the draw can I believe in 2 hours and 45 minutes? When he has to strip out of his wetsuit and then float up to the thing, I was like, okay, is this pushing it for me? Because now, how do they find him? What's going on? Now you see he's beeping, the red lights flashing. So yeah, but I mean, as soon as they said that, I was like, oh, this is going to be one of those just in the nick of time, and they save him, and you're not going to see it. It's all of a sudden going to be, because I thought he was dead or in a coma. I didn't quite understand why Grace was in the decompression tent with him. Like, I didn't know you could be in that if you didn't
know that
need
either, but I guess you can.
Maybe that's their justification for their lovey-dovey
that was weird
Fifth
too.
Element sequence.
So the whole like,
you know what I'm talking about?
Ethan Hunt. Oh, the Fifth Element. Part,
yeah, when they're at the end and they're in the tube that makes her, and he looks in and then he shuts it really quick because they're finding the sixth element.
That's right.
Love.
But the to me, it seems it's an interesting choice to make Ethan Hunt asexual, but also like he has longing glances towards women. And so it seems.
I don't think he's asexual. I just think sexual contact is not safe for the other person, and he's learned that lesson. Hey, speaking of which, is his wife still alive?
Yes.
There's
his ex-wife. They separated.
There's your sequence into another franchise. Their son. She's pregnant when she goes away, and that's how they're going to write it in the future. That's how they're going to, and he's going to be the guy in the chair.
But she's married to another guy. She's married to Wes Bentley.
So what? How many million times has somebody had a kid out of wedlock and then married somebody else and they raised it? I didn't want to tell him. Superman did it. I mean, it just happens.
We were talking about Fallout, and actually Fallout, I was thinking about the end of Fallout, and they do a similar thing in Fallout as they do in this movie, where Tom Cruise is like, you guys go defuse a bomb. I'm going to go get the key to turn it off or whatever it is. Like, that is the same thing. And so he does separate from them, but that's at the very end of the movie. And that allows him to have the big boss, fight against Henry Cavill. And he flies a helicopter and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, that
which
part
is great.
Like, it is great because I feel like it doesn't take up as much space in the movie, whereas in this movie he's like by himself, essentially going to the aircraft carrier, then going to the submarine, then going to another submarine, then he finally gets recovered by Haley Atwell. So it just seems it's just a lot of time. It's a lot of time.
Yeah, I agree with you. And there comes a point where they do things because they can. Because they need to top themselves. I didn't feel like they were trying to top themselves per se, because once you hang out of a C5 cargo plane or whatever that plane is, I think it's
the A300. Yeah, it's an Airbus A300.
Okay. Isn't that the same thing basically? Isn't the C5 a cargo?
It's
one of the biggest.
It's a what is it called? C-135 or something like that. Yeah.
Oh, so that's
a military plane, an army plane.
Yes, that's what my brother used to fly.
Oh,
anyway,
cool.
At one point in his career. But so there comes a point where when you're sitting in a room, who's going to tell Tom Cruise no? I mean, who's going to tell him no? And at this point, he has proven that he's been right. And by the way, he's producer on all of the films. I looked it up.
He is? Okay.
The first two.
I was wondering about the first one.
Makes sense.
Okay.
I makes sense because he's smart. He probably got in on the ground. He probably picked Brian De Palma. He probably
and it
picked
was
John
1995,
Woo.
so he was pretty popular back then as well.
I mean, he probably could do that now. He probably has done that now.
Oh, no, totally.
Yeah. So, I mean, he was huge at that point. He still is. Because everybody thinks he saved cinema with Top Gun Maverick. The point is that sometimes, we've talked about this before, sometimes you just have to be told no. Hey, listen, we don't need to put Janet McTeer in here. We don't need to put Angela Bassett in here. We don't need to put Nick Offerman in here. We love them.
Yeah.
We love them all. But it would have been more striking if you'd only seen Janet McTeer twice instead of the 4 times or whatever around, the president's cabinet
or whatever.
Yeah. It would have been, but and the prime example of that is that did Nick Offerman need a death scene? Like, we don't know who that guy is. He's just, it's Nick Offerman. I'm cool with him wherever he goes. But, do we need a unexplained, how did he really die, death scene? Because you don't really understand it. You just know he died. But I said at the beginning of the podcast, you don't need all of that stuff. You mentioned, who did you mention earlier? Hannah Waddingham. Waddingham, is that how you say her name? Waddingham. she's cool.
Yeah.
She's the thing. She has an Emmy. Let's put her in our movie. So I'm not saying they wrote these parts just to have these stars in it. It seems like they got into the why not? Like, why don't we have the cabinet? Oh, and we have this part and this part, and we can cast. I've always wanted to work with this person, this person, this person. And sometimes that works out. But for 2 hours and 45 minutes, I was okay with it because I was off and it was my day to watch the movie. And finally I got to see it because this movie's been not difficult, but it's been elusive. And then it's IMAX and everything's loud as hell and everything's rattling and that kind of stuff. So in the end, I'm satisfied, but I can see why. I saw somebody review this movie and they were talking about it being padded and heavy in places it didn't need to be, and that they kind of didn't have a direction for ending this franchise. And I think it's because I don't know. I'm guessing that when you have to end a franchise, it's an all powerful thing. So how do you do it? And you want it to be impactful and you want it to have a resonance that all the other films had. It's too much of an obligation to worry about ending a franchise. It's like trying to get DCU up and running, and now all those people are coming out admitting what people guessed to begin with, that they were trying to catch up with Marvel and emulate Marvel, and that's a mistake. It's a mistake. Make your own movie. We're not worried about sequencing them together until we get to whatever. We need a good Batman movie. We need a good Wonder Woman movie. We need a good Superman movie. Then put them together. We need to not catch up. Marvel is already 10 years ahead of you. It was a mistake. And it feels like this film had people in a meeting room going, oh, well, this is the last film. We gotta make sure it's this. This is the last film. When actually they should have just made the best film they could make.
Yeah.
And they might be satisfied because I don't think it's a bad movie. I just don't think, let's put it this way. There's certain albums to certain bands that I don't like. The Beatles. Somebody said that at work and I was like,
ooh,
yeah, I don't, but I mean, okay. They were young. But then I thought, well, what is the Beatles album that I would recommend to them to show them how I feel about the Beatles? You wouldn't give them 8 albums to go through. You would give them one quintessential album. You would worry about that album, just like this movie should have just worried about itself. Breaking it up into 2 parts was probably the first major mistake. It didn't need to be broken up into 2 parts. And I remember thinking that, or at least expressing after we saw Dead Reckoning, I was like, why? Oh, this is a part 2. Why? Like okay, the end of the world, the entity, all fascinating, but why? Like, why couldn't have this been wrapped up in this film? So the point to the album thing is that you don't give them 8 albums and go, here, love the Beatles. You go, oh, I love Abbey Road. Check out that album. And so most people might say Sgt. Pepper's. I don't know what they would say.
I think Rubber Soul actually might be the one.
A lot of people who are true.
But that's not my favorite Beatles album, but that's the most, codified Beatles album, I think.
Really?
But I think so. They're like in their element with Rubber Soul. Wow, we're in Beatles land. They're in their element, and they're not stretching out. I think Revolver's a better album, but I think Revolver kind of goes in different directions. Whereas it's like, if you want to give somebody one album to have them see, like, what were the Beatles like at their height, I would say Rubber Soul. But I like the White Album, my favorite album, but I would not give someone the White Album.
Weirdo.
That is a crazy album.
Yeah, it's really nuts. So the White Album is your favorite.
Yeah.
You would recommend Rubber Soul. See, I think Abbey Road would be the one where they go, oh, I know that song. Oh, I know that song.
Well,
oh,
that's
I know
true.
that song.
Yeah, like Come Together. Yeah, sure.
And Strawberry Fields and Here Comes the Sun and
Strawberry Fields isn't on Abbey Road, but that's okay.
What am I thinking of? The George Harrison song that I love.
Something.
Yes.
That's a good song.
I love that song. It makes me smile every time I hear it. And it's not necessarily because I'm happy. It's just this instantaneous emotional connection to it. Anyway, Final Reckoning, the film we're talking about today, that's the right title. Did I get it right? Which is not on Sgt. Pepper's, but it is on Abbey Road. I think that, would you be able to, this is another album analogy, if you gave somebody Sgt. Pepper's, would they be able to understand the Beatles from that album? The answer is probably yes. Any of those that we talked about, probably yes. It's like giving the Joshua Tree to a non-U2 fan. That encapsulates who U2 is. There are 1,000 things other that I would recommend, obviously. So would you be able to give The Final Reckoning to somebody who knows nothing about the Mission Impossible franchise? And would it be interesting to get them through 2 hours and 45 minutes? I don't know the answer to that question. But if they were worried about that, it might have been a more interesting, or if they were thought about that, it might have been a more interesting film, because you're writing it about a contained narrative, not about when it opens with all the sequence from all the other films, I was like, they're a little bit in trouble here. They're already in trouble.
So what would this movie look like if they did shove all of the set pieces into one movie? I think if they had like a 3 hour, 15-minute long, just like super cut of the airport sequence from Dead Reckoning, they'd have to make a bunch of stuff a lot smaller, but really they could take each thing. The Rome car chase with, you know, the BMW without the doors, and then they got the little yellow one.
Did he get it? Is that the one he gets on the motorcycle eventually?
No, that's different. That's a different one, but that's Fallout,
amazing.
I think.
Yeah, that's amazing.
But then, like, they're in like a BMW with no doors, and then they're in a Fiat, the little yellow Fiat. And Haley Atwell. Like, I mean, there's that, and then there's like a lot of the set pieces in there are really good. And so if you just took all those and shoved them together and made the movie like 3 hours and 15 minutes long, that could be an amazing, because you could have the train sequence and the biplane sequence in one movie. Like, oh my gosh, that would be
think about that in reverse. If they took The Final Reckoning and took all of the pork, for lack of a better term, out of it, all of those extra scenes with all of those extra actors who I love, all of them.
Sure.
What if they take it out and knock it down to 2:30 and it is just set piece to set piece to set piece to set piece in this film? It might have been a more interesting. They tried to make you emotionally connected to it instead of. But I think we're
all done with that. I'm all done with that. Yeah, like I've already moved past that. I don't need to be emotionally connected to Ethan Hunt. Doesn't seem like he's emotionally. I mean, he is, but it just seems like he's gonna do what he's gonna do. Like, it just is.
I still got emotional at the end of the film. I still got thrilled that they saved the day. I mean, and that scene with Grace when she takes the glow,
the 5D holographic drive.
It's awesome. I believed she did it. Like, I mean, that sequence was
0.2 seconds or whatever.
Yeah, that was good. She saw it, click, boom. I was like, yep, she did it. Like, I could tell. Like, it was good. And it's Haley Atwell's acting ability that sells that.
She's really good.
The like reserve she has and just the focus she has. It was just, yep, I buy it. I bought it 100%. And another thing, they didn't destroy that, by the way. So there's your entrance into whatever happens, because he's going to get past a certain age. So he's going to have to become the man in the chair. He's going to have to be like the old Bruce Wayne. And eventually.
Is he still going to produce the movies, you think?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
I don't know.
Because you're saying he has to be in it in order to produce it?
No, I'm not saying he has to. I'm just saying that like that was a whole nother thing. It's like a lot of people were saying like, oh, is he gonna die in this movie? But then, you know, spoilers for this movie. He doesn't die. That whole kind of process of like, this is the final reckoning. We're putting the word final in the movie. It's not. Like, it doesn't have to be. He could still be Ethan Hunt and still be out in the field. He's not going to magically turn into John Voight in Mission Impossible 1. It's just not, that's not how it's going to be, I don't think. And they already tried to do this with Jeremy Renner. He was supposed to be like the guy to come in to be Ethan Hunt version 2, and they decided against it.
It has to be close to an unknown person, an up and coming Tom Holland, somebody like that. Somebody
That's not an unknown person. Oh, you're saying an unknown person in the world of, yes.
Well, I mean, somebody who, Tom Holland's a bad example, but somebody who doesn't have the gravitas of Tom Cruise, because they're not going to cast a no name. They're just not.
They can't, because that person would have to carry the movie.
Well,
to a certain extent. Yeah, they will.
Christopher Reeves was a no-name, and look what happened. I actually heard somebody on all of the discussion about the new Superman film, because there's a lot of it, about how, I think it's going to do billions of dollars worth of, it's going to bring the franchise back, blah, 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 but it doesn't have any star power. I'm going, that's right. Good.
Because that they're not, it's so-and-so from Guardians of the Galaxy. It's
Henry
like, no,
Cavill wasn't a star at the time when he was cast as Superman, and that was their best choice, meaning not the best choice to Superman, the best choice for us to see the character in a different light, played by an actor we don't know anything about.
Yeah.
Ben Affleck turned the tables on that and proved us wrong. Most people, not me, but most people. So anyway, Ethan Hunt can live and can keep doing this stuff. That's fine. I would have preferred a very distinct ending, severed it, that he smashed that 5D, whatever you call it.
holographic drive.
Holographic drive. Is that a real thing?
No.
Okay.
Just
Well,
make
I
that
don't
up.
know. I don't
What's
know.
5D? There's only 4 dimensions.
I
What's
know.
the 5th dimension?
Well, okay. There are things that
Aquarius?
I thought were fake. There are things in movies that I thought were fake for the longest time, and then I found out they were real. So I thought I would ask. Okay.
Okay.
Now I
That's
feel
fine.
dumb and I'm turning red because I'm
No,
embarrassed.
no,
But that's all right.
it's
It's okay. I bought it. I mean, that tells you something. They should have smashed it at the end. Done. The entity gone. Done. They should have locked it in a box and thrown it into the ocean. Done. Smashed it, whatever. Or if he died, they put it in his casket as he goes into the ground. Something. The movie has a very distinct ending, but you can sense they're trying to end a franchise, not a film. And that, I think, maybe lends itself to some bloat that, I mean, it's great when all those military people step back and you see the one guy standing there. It's great. But that's a whole nother movie. That's a different movie. Like, why? I mean, I guess we're supposed to see the results of their sacrifice. This is why we're doing this. Oh, and they repeat that a couple of times, not just for the people you know, but all the people you don't know.
Yeah.
And so he represents, the son of Angela Bassett, the president in the film, represents that. I get it. Do I think it's a necessity? No.
The more that I think about it, the end of Mission Impossible Fallout would have been a good ending to the franchise, because he's recovering in a bed and it's his ex-wife is there with Rebecca Ferguson.
Right.
And they have some words, and then she, like whispers in his ear, and it's just like, it just, and then everybody's there. Benji's there. Ving Rhames' character is there. It's just, that felt good. That felt like a good ending. And then, they made these other 2 ones.
So let me ask you this. Do you think that if you explore this movie in the future, which you obviously will, because this is something you love this franchise, do you think that the movie will improve, or will you be you've already poked a bunch of holes through it?
Yeah.
Do you think that you'll get to a point where you're like, oh, I see why they were doing that. Maybe I didn't see it the first time, or you're pretty good about, this is not going to work for me no matter how many times I watch it in the future?
I think I felt that way about, what was it? Ghost Protocol. I felt like, this is okay. And then I've rewatched it since then. And it's a little bit better, but the other ones I kind of was walking out of them being like, this is awesome. Like, this is really good. Especially the most recent ones. If I was going to watch this again, I'll probably wait for it to come out on streaming, and I will probably fast forward to the set pieces and then just watch those and then just move on.
Well, I'll
YouTubeify it,
Well, I mean, that says something, because that's kind of what I just described, that if we took 15 to 20 minutes, 25 minutes out of this film with all of that, and a lot of those sequences aren't that long. They're just, they feel, they drag. Like, you see the submarine guys is when I realized it. I was like, why? We don't know these people. Yeah, sure, you see them later on. But
have you seen Severance? That's the boat, the commander.
I love that guy.
Boat. Yeah.
I love that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
and
gosh,
so
I gotta look at his name. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that guy.
That's
and
Trammell Tillman.
Yeah. God, all these names. Yeah, and he's a completely different character in
Oh, yeah.
Severance. I've only seen the first season. I haven't seen the second season. I will eventually. So it was nice to see him. I almost didn't recognize him, but I was like, there's something about this guy I like. Who is this guy? And just his whole face, just the whole way he holds his body in Severance is completely different.
Yeah.
So
Well, and in this movie, it seems like he's in a different movie from everybody else. It seems
I
like...
would have liked to have seen that movie, though.
Really? Oh,
A little bit.
It seems like everybody's kind of joking down there in the submarine. It's like, guys, should be serious, right?
Yeah, and they kind of take to him very quickly, and they believe him. I mean, there's a lot of suspension of disbelief. There's a lot of it. You're not going to believe me, but
He believes him because of the St. Christopher medal that Hannah Waddingham gives him.
You're so bad. And she believes him because of the note
A
the
piece
president.
of paper
Yeah.
with a date on it.
Well, listen, it's kind of a shame that a person who is full-fledged Mission Impossible franchise lover feels this way about the film. But I can't disagree with anything that you said. I saw all of that. I felt all of that. It just in the long run, and maybe I had a long week, and I did have a very long week. And work was very intense, and it was just my birthday, and I was celebrating, and I was tired, and maybe I just needed the respite of going to a film and not thinking about anything. So I kind of kept putting it out of my mind. But I was, it's with a great movie, you don't think about those things until afterwards. And I forget what film we were talking about. You were like, I'm still trying to poke holes through it. I can't do it. It's Teflon. Nothing's sticking. And I was registering these things that we've talked about through the film, but I don't know. It just was easy for me to put it out of my mind and just ride the roller coaster for what it was.
That's great. Yeah.
And
I think that's a good time with the movies. I don't begrudge anybody for that.
Yeah.
So
I didn't get my popcorn though.
You did or did not?
I did not.
Oh,
I hadn't worked out for the day, and I knew if I got popcorn butt, I would never go home and work out. So so I didn't.
Well, all right. Well, then maybe next time. Maybe for the next movie.
Sure.
All right. Well, you can check us out on the web at actorandengineer.com. You can go to facebook.com/actorandengineer. And we're on YouTube. Just search for the Actor and the Engineer podcast. And we'll see you next time.